This is a reminder that I started a second recording for this speech. I stopped it prematurely. That's to me, not to you. All right, at the beginning of the speech, the proposition is actually phrased as a question. It sounds like it's an informative presentation. You're going to tell us how capital punishment imposes harms or creates some harms for the United States. I think that you want to just use the declarative sentence that it produces these harms. I'll leave out the how part because it's not, like I said, an informative speech. The background information on the number of states that have the death penalty versus the number that don't, that's okay. That's probably a pretty good attention device. The issue of cost is presented. The cost for the trials mostly sounds like it's about the appellate process and not really about determining guilt or innocence, but rather making sure that people have received due process. And there's not really a huge estimate about how much more it costs or how much money we're spending. And one of the questions that kind of occurs to me is, would we still be spending that amount of money if we were doing appeals of life imprisonment sentences? I'm not exactly sure why there would be an automatic difference. The one thing that I know is that you get automatic appeals when there is a death penalty. I don't know what the appellate process is for the other, and so if it is different, you need to kind of explain that. And like I said, there's no estimate on what the costs are, so I think that's a little bit problematic. The notion that it strains the social system because there's groups are being victimized, the poor and minorities in particular. There's a little bit of information here about the frequency with which black killers of whites are killed versus white killers of blacks. That I think information is relevant to the position that you're taking. I don't know exactly what the New Jersey court was looking at. I suspect they're looking at their own statistics, but if they're looking at national statistics, they ought to be able to cite some numbers. So let's get the more precise information here. That sounds like it's a little bit abstract in nature. And the argument that life would be better, I assume that that's primarily based on the reduced cost or the decreased strain on the system, for instance. I don't know how you document that there's going to be reduced strain on the system, the discrimination that you're talking about. I assume that the same number of people are going to be going to jail as are going to be executed, and the difference, you have to show that the harm occurs because people are executed, not because they're punished. If the problem is that they are being punished disproportionately in comparison to somebody who's committed the crime on the other end, then I don't know how your point makes the difference that you're talking about. There's a lot of hypotheticals here. The point about innocent people being executed is not developed very clearly. We've got one random piece of information that seems to be dropped in there. If you're going to make that argument, I think you need to develop that point more, and probably it would come on the second point, about what the strain is on the system, that we can't really trust the government to make appropriate decisions, or we can't trust the judicial system, I should say, not necessarily the government. Gesundheit. All right, thank you.